Hi, I'm Mike Marino, and this is a brand new episode of Live from My Mother's Basement. We're live. Hey, everybody, how you doing? Welcome to another edition of Live from My Mother's Basement. The more shows that I've been doing, the greater amount of shows I've been doing, I'm having so much fun finding and getting such great guests that come to the show and knock it out of the ballpark. I want to thank right up front Tatiana Blueshell, my producer, for always coming up with these creative ideas of where we find the guests to come on the show. So this is actually going to be one of the first times I'm going to have someone who works in the industry, but behind the scenes, maybe a little bit of in the quiet arena, that helps make movies, videos, television projects shine quietly. Did I say that right? Okay, so here he is. He's sitting right next to me. I'm hoping I'm going to get his name right because he's French. This is Nathanael, right?
Yes.
And I said Trahan. How would you say it?
It's Trahan.
Trahan? Say it again.
Yeah, Trahan.
Traha?
Yeah.
Traha.
It's like one word.
But there's an N at the end.
There is.
Traha?
Yeah. I mean, French is spoken differently in a lot of different places. Where I'm from, I'm Cajun French, so from Louisiana, and they say it is all one syllable, and I don't know why.
Were you born in Louisiana?
I was born in southern Louisiana.
No
yes.
kidding.
I was.
All right, so I'm hearing a little bit of an accent. Not that much. I would think that's almost more California. How long have you been in California?
I've been in California this time for about 5 years, but yeah.
This time. It's the strangest thing. It seems like everybody in the entertainment business has a stretch, and then they leave.
Oh, yeah.
And then they come back and say, I'm not going to do it again. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah, I think Los Angeles, it kicks you down one time, and then you're like, no, that's not how we're playing. So then you come back, and you try to do it again. And then about the second or third time, that's when you get it. That's when you're just like, okay, you're not taking me out this time.
My man, I am so happy that you said that because I always think I'm the only one.
Oh, no.
I'm the only, you know what? I got my ass kicked. I'm going home. Then you go home, you're like, I'm not done. And I go back.
Yeah.
And then you start getting your ass kicked again, but you get through it. You leave, but then you come back. He actually said, this stretch, 5 years. That is so great. All right, let's rewind then. First of all, he said his last name is French.
It is.
And Louisiana, which is really, really cool. I mean, I've gotten to go out there and perform. The accents are cool. The food is cool. The jazz, the blues, the entertainment.
Yeah.
So you're in school, high school. When did you decide you want to get into show business? We're going to explain what area of show business he's in.
I guess one of the weirder stories that I've heard, it actually didn't happen until I was going to college, and my mother told me that I had to pick a major. And I had never thought, I was one of those kids that never thought I was going to last that long. Like, I did a lot of stupid things. I thought, we're never going to have this
you
problem.
thought you were never going to last long in life?
Yeah, I just thought, like, it's fine. Like, it's whatever. If today's the day, today's the day. So I just never thought that far. And then my mom forced me to pick a major. So I picked theater. And then I did that for a long time. And I went to school. And then about like halfway through college, I realized that like not very many people make their money in theater. Like it's a lot easier to make your money in film.
Yeah.
And so then I started doing movies as an extra, moved up to being an extras, like working in extras casting. And then I kind of just kept in the film industry. Like I kept
here
doing
in California or back there?
No, back there. I started in like the town of Lafayette, Louisiana, but then I ended up doing a lot of things in Baton Rouge and New Orleans.
See, so many people think, you got to be in the Mecca. You got to be either in New York or New Jersey. I wouldn't have thought, okay, Louisiana, there's a casting company that puts extras in movies.
Yeah, for sure. There are a few of them. And some of the companies that work out here also work there.
Tied together.
For sure.
Oh, okay. So, but when you were in high school and going to college, were you in theater like a performer?
I was. I have a degree I have a bachelor's of fine arts in acting. and I have maybe been on screen with a part maybe like 3 times in my life.
Right.
So I realized fairly quickly that like I wasn't gonna last very long in that world. So I just decided to take myself out of that world and move into something that was a little bit more steady, a little bit behind the camera.
Okay. So you finished college. When was it that you decided, you know what? I'm going to create, what is even the word for it? Tapestries? Um, the backdrops? Um, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, I know what a cinematographer is. I know what a gaffer is. I know what the lighting guy is. I know what the director is.
Okay, so what I am is a production designer.
Right.
So I control the way the place looks. So if you have me in a room that is just a like white room and you say this is now like say a police interrogation room, then I'm the person that paints the walls gray and makes sure there's like a table in it that's metal, that's that table, the table with the handcuff hooks, and I get the handcuffs and I get like my team does that. That's what they do is they turn spaces into other spaces or
Right.
will create an entire space.
How does anybody even get into that? Because I said the word tapestry. I think somebody was looking at a project that I did, and they would look like, "Wow, who's the your production designer? The tapestry looks amazing," because it was supposed to be
Yeah.
the '50s. And you walk into this place on a Monday, and you meet a couple of people, and then you go back there on Tuesday, and you're like, "Oh my God, we're in the '50s. Where'd they get this shit? How did they even think of this? Where where'd you go shopping? Who painted that wall? Can I keep the clock?" Right?
Exactly. I mean, that's what we do. Is like we have productions designers in general. What we do is we'll talk to the producers and we'll talk to the people in charge and be like, okay, so what are we looking for? And then we come up with the designs, we present it to them. They're like, okay, we're going to change these things. And it goes back and forth. And then we send out a team of shoppers to like WB props and like to a whole bunch of places all around Los Angeles or wherever city you're in. And they start piecing these things together and bringing it in from backdrops to like having walls built, having I've been inside of entire fake castles built. And
So you walk outside and it's like, that's not a castle.
exactly.
It isn't
Actually,
there.
yesterday we went to a taping. I love doing this. I love going to a taping of a show that's bigger than mine. So we went to a taping of this show that is very big. It's been on network TV for a long time last night, and it's set in the 90s. And like the show was previously set in the 70s. So they did like everything that they made, all of the walls, everything that's on the wall, like everything that's decorating the walls around it was brought in by somebody. And what was particularly hard about that show is that they have a base already that they have to be at because of the original set. Like they can't make a new set. They have to start with like this house has been here since we first saw the show. And now we're looking at it in a different decade. So what does that look like? Not everything's changed. Some things are still there. Some things have
Are you
moved.
allowed to say the show?
It's not my show.
Oh.
I think anybody like if you listen to what I said, it started in the 70s.
That
It's in the
70s show?
90s.
That 90s show? That is incredible.
Yes,
I
that's the
would
show
love
that
to
we
be
were
in
at.
a, that's like a period piece, and then you have to go find that period.
And you know what? Like, this wasn't even my show. I literally sat there yesterday as an audience member watching somebody else's. I was like, oh, this TV that's in the basement now, that used to be the TV that was in the living room in, like, the original show. And it makes sense that now it's in the basement. So it's not just about, like, you can't just put anything on a wall. You're thinking about, like, what would this character put on the wall? What is their thing? And that's.
It's an amazing thing. We're going to get even deeper into it. So,
Sorry.
how does
I went on a
anybody?
tangent.
I hope you do. How does anybody even train for that? Is there a school for it? Is it? We know the word prop house. That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
much. I know the word continuity.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people say, "Would you put the fork back where it was?" Usually, somebody who's pretty angry. You moving the fork?
You're
Well, sorry.
Probably somebody from my team. That
Is
would
that
be
okay?
us.
So
That would be us or
you guys
continuity
are
getting
prop
mad.
masters. You guys are in charge of the prop masters
Yes.
and the continuity.
Yeah, we are in charge of our continuity. Every department has their own. So, like, if you're holding a suitcase and you go in and you're holding it in your right hand, and then you come in the next take and now it's in your left hand, I guarantee you somebody from wardrobe is going to be that used to be in your right hand. And they'll
Wardrobe?
tell continuity, and continuity will tell you. Like, everybody's watching for their specific thing that they do.
I'm just gonna uh, go out of nowhere for a second.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of movies if you watch really closely, and probably mostly people like him who do what they do. Go, I caught it, I saw.
Exactly.
But in Ocean's 11, is in
Mm-hmm.
Ocean's 11,
Okay.
um, Brad Pitt is waiting for what's the name to come out of jail, and when he's standing there, he's holding a martini glass with shrimp in it, and then it cuts to the other guy, and then it cuts back to him, and it's a plate with shrimp
Yeah.
in it, which means they probably shot 2 different days.
You know what? I would bet anything that they did that one on purpose.
No,
They did that. And actually, the reason why I would think that is because it's a Brad Pitt movie. What was the other one that he did with Edward Norton? That was Fight Club.
Fight Club.
Fight Club did that a lot to try to give you the idea that, like, you're in a fantasy world. You are not in control of what's happening here. There are going to be things that we switch.
Oh, really?
So that would make a lot of sense, because whenever the reason why it makes me think that is because there's a shrimp in the martini. How many martinis do you know that have a shrimp in them as the
Well, the
garnish?
martini glass was, the glass of
Yeah, it's a
shrimp you
cocktail.
eat.
This is shrimp cocktail glass.
Yes.
So I would guess that they wanted you to see that shrimp cocktail glass, because why is he standing here outside of jail holding a shrimp cocktail glass? That's not what you do.
No. No.
And so
was,
when it comes back, now it's a plate. So it's something that you're spotting in his hand that they made you spot.
yeah, like why is he there eating shrimp? So is it an inside joke? Is that what you mean?
It seems
That they're breaking each other's chops?
I think they're trying to, in that scene. I remember that scene very particularly. To me, it seems like what they are trying to do is be like, take a situation that most people think is very serious. You're coming out of jail. Like, this is like, your life has been ruined and now you're going to have to start over your life. And, like, making fun of that.
Wow.
In physical comedy.
See that? You see that? Hope you guys are listening. Because I watch that all the time and I'm like, hey, I caught it. I caught it. Now I'm thinking maybe I didn't
And they were
catch
like,
anything.
They wanted you to. Well, I think that that's a common misconception about a lot of movies, is that, like, so the actors are the only ones making jokes, or like the directors are, or whatever. And it's like literally every department will go in there and they'll pitch something. They're like, so what if we do this? And they'll like it or they won't. And it depends on the show. But, like, it's interesting to have, like, to be on a set and have so many people that are so great at their one thing that they do all come together to do this thing together.
Almost in a way, like I was saying before, you feel like you become an instant family with the people that you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
And the chemistry, and everybody's working to make the project the best they could possibly be without somebody going, I think the prop department screwed up.
Yeah.
Didn't you have a machine gun yesterday? Today I got a pistol.
I mean, there is no way that they switched that out and didn't notice that. That would have been big. But we do see, like, over days, like, people think that, like, oh, we're filming this scene. We only filmed this scene once. Sometimes a scene can be filmed, like, and take 3 days to film the same section, just because they're trying to get something so super, like, meticulous. So it's hard for somebody to remember, like, oh, it was in his left hand on day 3.
Yeah.
When we've been shooting it for 3 days. And after a while, like, actors, just like everybody else, they'll switch cups and hands and they'll forget things. Like everybody else. I am super trained to always grab it the same way.
Really?
It's something I learned a long time ago.
Would you do something different?
No, can't do it. Can't do it.
And we'll be,
Yeah.
But is there a school for that? I mean,
I went to theater school. There are schools like AFI that teach production design, and other schools in the area that teach production design, but I never learned it that way. I learned it on the job. I got a lot of my jobs because I had built a lot of stuff in theaters. So I understood how that worked.
Right, it's completely different, I would assume.
Hmm.
Theaters, you put it up, it stays up for a long time. Maybe you got to fix it from time to time. Um, Plays. I forgot when I was in high school, of course, in junior high, when I was doing plays, you would see the production team make these instant sets. You could be in somebody's office, like you said, or a police precinct out of something that was so light, just the wind would knock it down,
Yeah.
but it looked like brick. What am I talking about?
I
It was
mean,
called something.
I believe you're talking about I always get them confused. It's a Broadway flat. So it's
Flats, yes.
yeah, it's a flat, but what those are is it's canvas or like some sort of print, sort of like this,
Yeah.
like a print stretched over this frame. And so whenever you like the wind hits it or something, you'll see it move.
Yes.
There's actually a very famous show out right now, like a competition show, that if you look really closely at their walls, you can see the wind moving their walls. And I think they do it on purpose, like honestly, but it's been on for like what, 17 seasons now, and you can always see the wind ripple through the walls or somebody passes too close to it.
I've never done major real theater like in New
Mm-hmm.
York. I've done way off Broadway. It's called New Jersey. But I get to entertain on cruise ships from time to time, and they put the comedians on the same stage as whatever the play would have been the night before. So you
Mm-hmm.
could be on stage or the set of Cats or the set of Hairspray or the set of whatever it is. And then they put the one curtain that goes in front of it so you can't see the set,
Mm-hmm.
but you saw the play the night before, so people assume, okay, it's behind him. So to go behind the curtain and see the set is pretty amazing. You know, you can get in somebody's car and you can see all the the things that make it work. I wish I was part of something like that. But the set for Cats was just unbelievable. So they couldn't put the curtain across. It was just too big. And I just remember coming out as a comic and going, all right, I'm going to improv. This is where this cat did this and this cat did that. And I was having so much fun. But I
Just
guess that's a whole different way of building sets, huh?
for sure. I mean, it just depends on how much space you have and how permanent things can be. But so did you go in and like start singing Jellicle Cats
No,
and
I
running
can't
around and
sing. I don't sing. I did. Quite honestly, I really didn't like the play. It was kind of boring to me. I'd rather sing breeze songs or
yeah.
something. The Hairspray play was good. We get to see really great shows when you entertain on the ships, but that play, I don't know, I just
Cats is a hard one. Not a lot of people are big fans of cats in
yeah.
general. I think it's really confusing, honestly. Like I understand the entire plot, but I'll sit through it and then wonder like why? Why am I And I really love plays. I really love plays, but that is not my favorite.
Well, when did you decide to do your first term in Los Angeles, California, and get away from home?
That was in 2010.
Right?
I moved and I was working at a retail establishment at the time, and I yeah, I think it just really like it ended up being just weren't making enough money to pay the rent, and eventually you had to go. Like
Oh, really?
that's kind of like that's how LA works. Like LA will knock you down at least once.
It'll
I
knock you
think
down a
everybody
lot.
finds
Once
that.
a day, maybe.
Yeah.
Definitely once a week, but it can be brutal, especially in LA. People tell me all the
Mhm.
time, "You live in California?" I'm like, "No, no, no. I live in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Hell A. I call it Hell A." And there's millions of people from around the world who come here to work in show business, which is cool. So it's a hard thing to achieve. But if you have a lot of friends and you got a lot of people in the industry, you will work
Yeah, you'll
in
find something.
the thing that you want to work in the field that you want to work in. So when you came out for the second stretch, which is now, right?
Yes.
And now you're working.
Hmm.
So what would be, or let's say, your favorite project that you've been working on or worked on, and
Oh,
what was it?
I do a lot of indie movies, and I love doing indie movies. A lot of people aren't big fans of them, but I love doing them. We just did one that was called Open House, and it's this realtor that gets caught in this house with a murderer, And in the middle point of the movie, we move from like the world of reality into the world of fantasy. And if you notice, like a lot of horror movies have that moment where you're moving from reality to fantasy. And whenever we do that, and like in what we do, we change a lot of things about that world. Like you'll go into a mausoleum that's suddenly a lot bigger on the inside than it could possibly be from the outside, or like you're going through tunnels in like there's no way this tunnel could be connected to the inside of the house, but once we leave the world of reality, you get to create basically whatever you want.
So let me ask you this question, because this is what I know is going to interest a lot of people. A director and a producer decide we're going to go into production on, let's say, a horror,
Mm-hmm.
and they have their script and they cast their actors and they say, okay, this is what we need to make this happen. How do you get that call?
Oh, a lot of different ways. It could either be that they knew somebody that you knew, or like your agent has reached out, or they've seen your work.
So
Uh,
you even have an agent that
I don't personally. I know a lot of people who do,
they
but
have an agent that handles. See, I think an agent
yes,
handles actors.
there are agents that handle production designers as well.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's mind-boggling.
They could have also like it depends on what they need. They could have also found you like on the website for like your union. Like there's a lot of things, a lot of
And
different
what was
ways.
that name of the union again?
Oh,
IATSE?
IATSE, yeah.
IATSE. What are those abbreviations?
IA?
Yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah, the
IA.
IA, yeah.
What is
Instead
it?
of AI.
What is
I don't International Association of Theater and Stage
All right. Is it a good union?
Equipment? No, engineers.
All right.
Something? I don't know.
I've been in Screen Actors Guild since I'm a kid. And I remember it was very, very powerful and useful when I was a little kid. And when I started doing stand up, well, we're live performers. It doesn't have anything to do with the union.
Right.
You're on your own, which may or may not be a good thing. But if you're doing an independent film and somebody contacts you and says, okay, we're making this horror and we want the creature to crawl upside down on the ceiling
Mm-hmm.
and we need it to look like a sewer, um, and we're going to be shooting at night. We want to make sure it's wet and damp. There's pipes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the plumbing's not working. Do they tell you that that's what they're looking for? Do they write it out? Or do you say to them, you know what, I got an idea of how this should look for you?
It depends.
See, you laughed. But because you're probably saying to yourself, I sound like some guy who would have asked that question.
No. What normally happens, it depends. It depends on the type of producer you have. Sometimes they'll come up to you with a bunch of ideas or it's written in a script. They give you the script and it's like, oh, the writer has already done this work. Like it says that we are here. And sometimes they come to you with the idea and the idea is completely like together. And so you throw out like a concept of what they're talking about. Or like that might not be the case. Sometimes like it's just very vague because a lot of writers do respect other like parts of the industry. So they'll know that like they'll just say something like, "Oh, it's just in a basement." And then they're going to see what you come up with as the basement and you talk to set designers and what does that look like? And then you send it back to production and it kind of goes back and forth for a while. There's meetings and people agree on what it looks like and how much it costs and
I was going
and
to
then we
say,
go.
what is it? Did it? You say this is what you want this to look like. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. Make the basement look like this, and it's going to cost you this much money.
That's sort of. I mean, normally what happens is when we're presented with a show, they'll give us a budget with that show. Like, in this budget covers all of our department for the entire show, and well, in a movie, in a sitcom, it's per episode, I believe. But so they'll do that, and so like, say I have like, we'll just throw a number out, like $200,000. That's what we have. And so then what they can get for that is always taken into account. You break it down by like, oh, we have this many scenes, we have this many like places that we're going to. And so a lot of like what can go into that scene, in particular, the one that you're talking about, is based on how much money do we have to spend in that area. Is this really important? Because if it's really important, then we'll just blow a massive amount of money on it and we'll make it look good. But we are also constricted by money and by people. So that money has to cover not just like the stuff that's going into it, but the people that are working on it and for the amount of time that they're doing that. So it kind of gets it gets weird, like, because we're like, okay, at some point we have coordinators that are like, okay, so we know that this person costs this much amount, blah 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 blah, and they do their numbers, and then we present an idea like, this is what we think we can do, and then they might decide, hey, you know what, we thought it would be 200,000, but we just got another investor and now it's 400,000. We want you to spend $100,000 in that set. We're like, sounds great, let's do it. And that's kind of how it works. It's very collaborative, more collaborative than I think people actually know it is.
I would assume it is, because then you got to say to yourself, all right, wait, we got 200,000. All right, listen, you go to the 99 cents store because I need to get a new car. You know what I mean?
It doesn't go very far. You would think like big numbers sound like they go far, and they do not. There's a lot of spinning parts of this. So I mean, sometimes you could, if you don't have a lot, there are people that have these sets that are pre-built, and you can just alter those things. So you can literally just rent those sets and then alter little things here and there. There's certain studios that have setups that are like the basement scene.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll be like, okay, well, we'll do this in this location and that'll save you some money. And then we just retrofit that location, or it could be a complete build, which are extremely expensive.
In my live from my mother's basement so-called studio in New Jersey, people come up to me all the time and they're like, man, this bar, the sign, the bottles, all these antiques, man, you got one hell of a set designer. I'm like, yeah, her name is Mommy. She put this shit here, and don't break it because she'll kill you.
And one day somebody's going to show me that set and they're going to be like, we want something like that.
Could you imagine?
And be like, okay. And then we'll just start making lists of
hey,
like,
Mike,
what's in that.
Can I borrow that sled?
We're gonna need to come to Jersey, and we're going to film in your basement.
It must be fun if somebody says to you, okay, this is what we're looking to do. And then you grab your team and go, okay, we got to go shopping.
Yes.
We're going to go look for this particular thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then that could be anywhere.
Yeah.
Because we think, okay, there's a prop house. But you could go to the Salvation Army. Mm-hmm. Maybe the 99-cent store. Maybe one of those places on Burbank Boulevard that says people wore this, so you could wear it too. I forget what it's called. Rewear.
Oh, like, yeah. Like consignment shops?
It's a consignment shop, but it also has wardrobe from famous people from back in the day.
Oh, okay.
And you could buy it.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I don't know what it's called, but it's one of those places.
Yeah.
And it's super cool because you go in there and like, I Love Lucy wore this, you know?
Yeah.
Well, that's $5,000. Well, you know.
Don't touch it.
What is the most expensive budget you worked on?
Ooh, I worked as a food stylist on a show that was like a multi-million-dollar show. That was a very big show.
It was a TV show or a movie?
It was a TV show.
And they have a food stylist?
Budgets. Yeah, for sure. Because if you like, say you go into a bar or like a restaurant, every single plate that is in front of all of these people, like, we make those. We make them, we put them there. All the drinks are made by somebody. Normally they're just colored water or like sodas, because people getting drunk on set is not fun. And they need people to actually be there and like move things around, make sure things look right.
You see how interesting that is? A food stylist. Now, I happen to know what a food stylist is. I didn't know they called it that. I thought it was a different name. But the only reason why I know that is because I grew up doing TV commercials. Now, I didn't know they had a food stylist on a movie or on a TV show, but I guess it does stand to reason because, again, continuity, you got to make the food look real. And if somebody was drinking a real drink, they wouldn't be able to do the scene by the end of the day.
For sure.
Or maybe not.
I mean, we've had that problem.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Can we know? Who?
You know, it's never anybody big, to be honest. Like, everybody that I've worked with that was big, they are very professional. They come in, they do what they're supposed to do, and they get out. Like, that's their That's their bit, and that's why, for the most part, like I know people don't like to hear that because they like to hear the stories, like,
Yeah.
but I'm like, for the most part, like if somebody has been consistently big for a long time, they are extremely professional. They come in, do what they have to do, and get out.
Yeah.
That's they're the ones you want to work with.
I was working on a project once, and the co-star had a problem getting up in the morning because he was drinking, and
Mm,
I was like the fifth lead, maybe a sixth lead. And on the third day of shooting, the director turned around and he looked at me and goes, "You got 80 pages. Take the
exactly.
role." And I'm like,
That'll
"Huh?
that'll
You can do this?"
happen.
I'm like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
I got bumped in to be the co-star of the movie.
Being consistent, like people don't like to hear this, but being consistent, being on time, and actually doing what you're told to do goes a long way in this industry. Like just show up, just be there. Like don't be a problem.
Yeah.
And that's
Don't be a diva.
because if you're being like if you're having your moment, and everybody has moments, so we forgive those sometimes. But if you're having your moment, that means that there are like 40 people that are literally sitting there waiting for you, and they are all getting paid by the hour. And like and producers do not like that. They're not big fans of that.
I want to stay on top of the food. No, that's
Sorry.
okay. I want to stay on topic with the food stylist,
Mhm.
because obviously you're a jack of all trades. You've been doing a lot of different things in the show business world.
Gotta pay
I didn't
money.
even know the two would work, that you could actually be part of both: set
Mhm.
designer, food stylist. So when I was a kid, we used to do TV commercials in New York City, and I remember seeing the people they called food stylists. Too bad I don't have any TikToks or any Instagrams of when I was doing those type of things, because I don't even know if most people realize how they do this. So I'll give you a for instance, and then you could take it from there.
Okay.
Kentucky Fried Chicken in 1983 came
Mhm.
out with hot wings.
Mhm.
And they decided the best way to promote the hot wings is they're going to be in a bucket. We're going to get a rock and roll song, a hot car, and four cool guys to drive. And the song's going to be "Get at the New Thing," and then you'd eat it, right?
Okay.
I probably bit in one day 60, 70 pieces of chicken.
Mhm.
There's a spit bucket underneath you. You go like this, and they say cut, and you spit it.
Yeah.
And then they give you another one. And then you bite, and then you spit, because if you were to eat it, of course, you get sick by the end of the day. So they have a spit bucket. But the food stylist
Mhm.
was always standing right there to give you the one that you bite, which is next to about six of them that you better
Yeah.
not bite.
Yeah.
And I'll
Don't do
never
that.
forget, this guy said to me, "That's not hot, and that's not smoke. That's acid. Don't touch it." And you see that, why the chicken looks so perfect? That's
Mhm.
dental floss. Don't bite the. What? He goes, "I'm the food stylist.
Mhm.
Trust me. That's the hero. Bite that one."
Yeah.
And you remember six kids, teenagers going like this. What, who are you people? So then you
Mhm.
go into the kitchen where they're preparing it, because
Mhm.
you never really see it. We're on the set, but they had a kitchen, like a makeshift kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all they did, was make these perfect pieces of chicken
Mhm.
and a bucket. But the bucket was not filled with chicken.
No.
The top of the bucket had maybe six, seven pieces of chicken. Under here was something else, I don't remember, to make it look like it was a full bucket. But
Yeah.
to the point where the actor held the bucket, you could tell it was heavy enough to equal what a bucket of chicken would feel like. In
Mhm.
that detailed, I remember going, "This is impossible. Can't we just eat chicken?"
You can. It would not be. It
Okay,
wouldn't be
so
very appealing visually.
take it from there. You explain that. You tell everybody what this
You want
this
to
is,
know
because this. Well, what would that be like in a movie set? Because this is a
the
commercial.
same? If you'll notice, like if you really look closely at movie sets, very few times are the actors actually eating. They'll do this thing where like they'll put the plate out, there's food on it, and they'll cut it and move it around and whatever, and go to do it, and then keep talking. And that's so that the food on the plate never changes, but also so that they don't like. It's hard to speak when you're eating
Right,
something.
right.
But I did something similar to that. It was a different, it was different than food styling. It was on a movie. It was this movie called Santa Jaws, and
What is it?
Santa Jaws.
Santa Jaws.
It's by Sci-Fi, and it was this magical shark that was brought to life by a child drawing it, and it could only be killed by Christmas themed objects.
Interesting.
Sometimes you just gotta accept the world, and so at some point, like the way that they decided to get this, like to kill the shark, one of the things in the script was that they would fill turkeys, like Christmas turkeys, with explosives and then launch them at the shark. Okay, so in the movie, you see about 3 or 4 turkeys go out to the shark. In reality, we had about like 14, 15. And the problem with filming turkey is whenever you cook a turkey, like in real life, it deflates a lot. So it doesn't look like you see them on screen. Almost every time you've seen a turkey on screen, like it's raw. And they'll rub shoe polish on it or spray paint it or whatever to make it look like turkey.
Shoe polish?
Yeah, shoe polish works really well because whenever you cook something,
See,
all
wait
the
a minute.
liquids
Come
come
on.
out.
Did you ever watch a movie and you're going like this, being that you're in the business? Hey, Frank, come here. Look at the shoe polish they got on that turkey. That looks ridiculous. They probably used the wrong color. Do you ever do that?
Yeah, you can definitely you could tell. What we did in particular, instead of doing the shoe polish because people had to touch it, like with their hands and put it in, is we had catering. We gave them the turkeys the night before. We had already like taken out the guts. Like we had so many dead turkeys like on the back of this truck for days, and they were defrosted and they were starting to smell because they kept pushing the shot like for multiple days. So what we did was handed all that to catering that does our lunch, and we were like, just sear the skin. Like all I need you to do is just make the skin look brown because they're gonna hold these things. So they did that, and then it came back. It didn't look perfect, so we spray painted them. And if you look really closely in that movie, I'll tell you when I messed up because I did those turkeys. If you look at the turkey, whenever it's getting launched, the pan stops that it's getting launched from, and you see as the turkey's flying through the air that it is raw on the bottom because the paint stuck to the pan.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So the turkey launched, and on the front it looks great, and it's going so fast you don't notice. But it hits the ground, it explodes, whatever. It goes into the water, explodes. But but there was a lot of things that we had to do to those turkeys in particular. We were working in a space where we couldn't like just let the turkeys hit the water and then go underground and be fine. Like just stay in the water. We couldn't do that because we were working under restrictions. So these turkeys had to hit the water and then float. Turkeys don't like to float when they hit the water. So we had to take insulation foam, like spray foam, and fill the turkeys on the inside with insulation foam so that when they hit the water, they would want to bob up and down in that water so we could catch them in the boat that was going around to catch them.
How do you even figure that out?
A lot of trial and error.
What does the director say? Hey, listen, you sinking the turkeys. Can you make them float? And he goes, yeah, I know how to float a turkey. Like, how would you learn that in college?
You would be surprised. Like, you would be surprised. A lot of it is just like, so wait, when they hit the water, they sink, so they need to float. And we had this list of things that needed to float, things that needed to sink in this entire movie. And honestly, like everything that was supposed to float wanted to sink, and everything that was supposed to sink wanted to float. And we kept running into that problem with like random things like elf legs that were supposed to get cut off, go underwater, blood comes up, but they didn't want to go underwater because they were buoyant. So you'd have to like put an anchor in the water and tie the rope to the legs and pull really hard and hope that the anchor was heavier than the thing. So we had this problem the entire time. So by the time we got to the turkeys, we knew how to make things float and how to make things sink and control them.
It's just really, really funny. I love behind the scenes, the making of, like, who would even know this stuff? Even this one other show I was working on, it wasn't a show, it was a TV commercial. That's when they were first coming out with TV dinners. And the little boy was supposed to be the brother I was the older brother, and the family, they create a fake family, right?
Hmm.
And so the food stylist said to me, we really don't want the kid to keep swallowing the food, so do everything you can to make him laugh. Tell him, hey, spit it out, because in a couple hours that kid's going to throw up. And at that time, I don't know if they even do this anymore, they had a replacement kid waiting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he didn't do it right,
Yeah.
they had another
You
kid
have
waiting.
to. You have a limit on the time you're allowed to have with kids.
But she said to me, when you eat the soup, there's marbles in the soup. That's what's
Hmm.
making it look so thick and pulpy. So
Yep.
just make sure you don't really eat the soup at all. Just kind of go like this. And I'm like, there's marbles in here? And she goes, well, yeah. And I go, does the little boy know that? And she goes, no, that's why I'm trying to tell you. You gotta-
No, you don't want to tell them that. They'll go after the marbles. That's. I use a plate. I'll put a plate in the soup, like a bowl upside down in the soup.
So you're familiar with this?
Oh yeah, we're always stuffing things to make things look fuller.
And what is it that makes it looks like it's hot? The smoke.
Uh,
Did he say it was
you could do
salicylic
a
acid
couple of ways. That I don't think that's true. I think he
in a
just didn't
dropper?
want y'all to mess with that because you touch one thing on that thing and the whole thing falls apart and you have to deal with it. So they told you.
What makes the smoke come off a plate
It
of hot food?
depends. I do it a different way than that. What I'll do is I'll light like an incense, like the little triangular ones, and I'll just put it in the thing with it.
Oh, wow.
So it'll just keep smoking until it burns out, and then you just replace it with another one. I mean, maybe he did use acid. That sounds really
Something
interesting.
that just made that, and even made the noise.
Yeah. I mean, we would have. There's a couple of things you could do. You could do dry ice in a cup of water.
Dry ice.
That'll do
Maybe it was
that.
dry ice.
But it'll kind of sit low. So like a lot of what we know, like now, when I was growing up, they didn't have a lot of money on set, so you would end up doing a lot of the special effects things. Now we would most likely hand that off to special effects to do, but
You do special
yeah.
effects too?
I'm not supposed to. Uh, I don't anymore. I just hire people to do it, but I do know because I had to do it in the past. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it. You can actually connect a little hose to a hazer and put it behind the bucket, and the hazer will just keep going. And that's the
If you know
safest
what a
way to do
hazer
it.
is.
Oh, it's a smoke machine.
Oh,
It's a smoke machine that does.
is that the hazer?
Yeah.
I don't even know what a hazer is. Have you worked on, like, say, I don't know what you call it, weapons? A gunfire? A squib?
I have, but I don't do in my contracts. And I was doing this long before what had happened recently. I don't know if you know about that, but what had happened
Sure I do.
recently, I think everybody knows. I had put into my contracts that I do not deal with live fire in any sense of the word, like no squibs, none of that. What I will do is get what is called like either like a non-working replica or like a rubber gun. And whenever we do that, even though like they cannot fire, they're toy guns that are made to look real. Uh, we hire a person specifically to deal with those guns at all times. Like they are not left alone. There is no possibility of them being, and we check them when they come on and off set multiple times with the people that we have to check guns with to make sure there is nothing in it, and we show everybody, and we're very safe about that.
I worked on a film the one time that I got shot, and
Oh,
I was petrified. And everybody was getting shot. There was the scene when they would just, what is it called? What's the person called who comes? That's what they do?
the armorer.
Maybe, if that's what it's called. The guy was in charge of the guns. He took over
Oh
everything.
yeah, he's the armorer.
And he taught you how to hold it, when to shoot it. But they also told you what squib was going to go off first and how they were going to go off. And that your body will naturally react to the tiny little amount of pain that you're going to feel.
Mm-hmm.
So when it was my turn, they didn't tell me that there was the live explosives on the table in the fruit basket on the
Mm.
walls behind me. I think for the reasons of to show the surprise of my face because I had no idea it was coming.
Ooh.
So I had one squib here, and one in a hat. I had a hat on, and it was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be I'm going to get shot in the head. And he did say to me, the one in your head's going to hurt you a little bit.
Oh,
So don't worry.
sounds like it.
And when they started firing those guns, the sound And when that electrode hit me, I was fucking scared shit. And they blew up all around me. But when you watch it, it's like, wow, I got killed for real. And the one who hit me in the head, that did hurt. And I'm like, ow.
Like, that sounds terrifying, though.
But it looks really, really good. And I was happy that I got to be part of it. And the funny enough is there's no gun firing at me.
Uh-huh.
It was just the
squib.
the electric,
Yeah.
whatever the thing is. Isn't the squib the blood?
The squib is, I think, the explosive.
It's an explosive. Yeah.
That's what I know. I don't work with them, but that's what I think they are.
That was fun. And then I don't know who the set designer was, but we were in a warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess there was someone there who said, okay, there's going to be fruit on the table. There's going to be this water fountain over here. And these are the mats. So when you fall, you go right to the mats.
And I'm sure they had multiple fruit baskets that look the same, and
that's what I meant.
Multiple,
and the same outfits.
Going to work the first time.
The same hat, the same shirt, like times 3.
Yeah.
In case it didn't. Luckily, mine did go the first one.
You kind of hope those.
The first one, I got it. Cut. You all right? I'm all right.
See, now we do it a little bit different from what I've seen for the most part, except for like the big budget movies that have like a lot of people. I don't know how they do things. But now, instead of you having those on you, what they'll do is like put you on a harness of some point side, and they'll like pull on your shoulder or pull right here to kind of mimic it. Because we're at the point now where, like, I personally believe that you don't need live fire. There's no, but I mean, some directors like it and they're really into it.
I've never been pulled. Maybe I'm too old. Ow! Call the doctor.
I've watched it happen, like where like they'll do like a fast pull and pull people backwards onto.
You see that? That looks cool.
Yeah.
I think they call that a stunt man.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
you get
replaced.
You have just so many projects that you've worked on. Mass amounts of commercials, print ads, film, television, music videos. What would be your favorite genre to work in? The film business?
Yeah, I like scripted. I'm a big fan of scripted pieces. So like
look at all
television and film.
What would be like, let's say, I can't even go through this. It's just way too many.
I've been around
the biggest budget movie?
The biggest budget movie, like movie? Well, let me see. I don't remember this stuff either.
The guy works so much he has to read his own resume.
I do. One of these is a Nick Cage film that I know they had a lot of money for. Oh, it's not even on here. No, it's Grand Isle. That would have probably been the biggest budget.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the difference between set designer, production designer?
The set designer designs a set, and the production designer is in charge of all versions of the art department. So I normally work really closely with the set designer to, like, it'll be like I hate to say it's anybody's vision because it's kind of everybody's vision, but like I'll draw something out and then hand it over to a set designer and they'll make it look great, and then it's going to go through a bunch of revisions, so they're going to be mostly like in the world of revisions.
There's so many different places in the behind the scenes. Look at all the different things.
But I've done
head costumer, art director,
oh god,
production designer, head costumer, on set dresser. Mm-hmm. There's that many different ones.
And that's 2 different
wardrobe
departments.
Stylist even does that.
I did. You know what? You'll do a lot of things to make money if you need to make money. Like, you'll do whatever pays the bills.
Well, it's behind the scenes in showbiz. You ever work on a project and look at your friends and say, you know what? I don't know why they hired that guy. I could do that better.
No, never actually. I'm normally the person that's like, I don't know why I got hired. Like this. Everything. You see all these people that like went to school for it and like they're really good at what they do, and you're like, I've just been flying by the seat of my pants for years. That's what my resume says to me. When I read it, I'm like, oh, he was jumping around everywhere. He knows a little bit of everything, I guess.
Is this all last year? 23? No.
Oh, no.
22. Okay.
I think this one's all the way back to 2016. It's
a
lot of
one
stuff.
Hell of a resume.
I need to go through it. And that's not all of it. It's a good bit of it, though. There are older things that I took off that I don't want people to know that I worked on.
So, what would be like your favorite genre? Would you rather work in horror,
I've
drama,
done a
comedy?
ton of horror. Now I want to do like sitcom TV.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of that's the world that I want to go into, and children's television.
Well, I definitely like doing comedy, and I would definitely like doing television.
Hmm.
In our little web series that we were shooting called "Make America Italian Again," I thought it would be really funny if one of the mob bosses was a kid. So we had an 11-year-old girl, and she's talking about whacking people. It is
Oh my god.
hilarious. And she's drinking a glass of milk. She goes, "Who touched my scotch?"
That's-
And the place where we were filming was probably like a set designer's paradise because it looks like the house in The Godfather in Lake Tahoe.
oh,
It's
nice.
identical. And the lady who owns it, she's famous. Her name is Georgia Durante, and she owns a place called the Enchanted Manor. So she rents it out for film and television and
Okay.
weddings, and it's a hotel. But I mean, she get like be $10,000, $15,000 a day to shoot in there. We were in there because we're all good friends, and we
Yeah.
were on a Sunday.
Didn't have to pay for that, so
thank,
that's good.
thank God. Who's got $15,000 a day? But hopefully in the future we will. And I would love to invite you down there when finally go back into production because you'd be like, wow,
Oh
okay,
yeah, I'd be
this is
impressed.
cool.
I've been in a lot of great big houses, and I love all of them. I'm a big fan. I think you get into this because like you're really into architecture
Yeah.
in the first place. So like if you get in to go into these like gorgeous houses, or like even like houses that are just like standard 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath, whatever, you get really excited that you're like, oh, so I see that they did this, and like you just really get excited about it.
This particular house you probably would love. They even have one of those things where you move the bookshelf and it's a hidden walk in and you go up the
Like
stairs.
a real one?
Yeah.
I've never been in one of them. No, I have to go to this house now.
Who's in there? Somebody. But it's all fun. Like I said, when the chemistry of the family gets on set, we have such a good time. I love working with people who do the behind the scenes because, like, let's say this guy, Cody, who is Tatiana's husband, when he directs the projects that we do,
Hmm.
he's very calculated, very quiet. And I remember doing a couple of scenes, and I'm saying to myself, I don't know if this is funny. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I don't know if it's funny. And he edited it. He
Hmm.
does the edit, and it made it funny. The
Wow.
edit made it funny. I remember looking at it going, dude, you made it funny.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
I don't know. Like you never want to skip on the editor. Like
Or anybody, really.
they make the movie. I mean, we all make the movie, but they make the whole thing come together at the end.
Did you ever see on some of the projects that you work on, like a creature? They created the creature, and then it malfunctions.
We had an animatronic shark that kept malfunctioning over and
Was
over
it the
again.
one with the turkeys?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
But also like they had this fin that went in the water that it was like an RC boat, like with a fin connected to it, like the shark fin. So I got really close with the guy that was doing that, and I was like, I want to drive it. And he was like, okay, but you gotta go slow because every time you would take this thing off because it was so top heavy, it would want to pick up out of the water. And that was the most incredibly fun thing I got to drive.
I love all those gadgets and stuff like that. I mean, I just want to perform. I stay in my lane. I do admire people who are in the different lane and they do all of this stuff. His resume is unbelievable. It's an art form in itself when they work behind the scenes. I think for the majority of the time, I've said this with many different people that I've worked with, they don't get their due. Nobody even knows that they did what they did. You could have a scene where they say the actor was blowing the place away, and you feel like going, "Yeah, but there was other people actually made that happen." You know, the way he flipped that table and the food. Well, he's the one who put the food on the table, so he made the actor. You know what I mean? Did you ever say that to yourself? He's so good. I put the food. That was me. I'm the one that had to clean up after he made the mess.
No, but I think it's funny because I worked in props so long that I have been the person. So like there's like the throwing the ball scenes that people do a lot. Throw the ball with their kid and they're talking. I have been the person on the ground throwing the ball consistently to different actors over and over again while they're saying lines at me. So like a lot of times when I watch something, I was like, oh yeah, I was on the ground right there. Oh, I pulled that door closed. Like that's the
Isn't that
things that I
funny?
actually remember. It's like, oh, that was a good door pull, you guys. Like that was really smooth.
So when you go to the premiere, you're sitting there with the rest of the people in the art department, and then you're going, remember when we were standing there?
Yeah. Remember when I was like throwing sand around that very famous person's feet?
Yeah.
Like you remember that? Like I've had that happen so many times.
Who's the most famous person you work with?
I don't know. It depends on like what world that you're talking about because they're all big in their own worlds.
Yeah, there's people
You
like
know?
they're the scream queens that
Yeah.
people who are not into that don't know. Like this famous baseball players. I don't watch baseball, so I really don't even know who you're talking about. But yeah, so you're right.
My favorite though, there are two favorites that stick out to me after years and years of doing this. And one is Pam Grier, who I was in awe by. We were doing a Christmas movie. And she is just like consummate professional, knows what she's doing, really talented, really sweet person, loves to talk about her horses and her ranch that she owns. So that was big for me.
Right.
And Hillary Burton, who was also really sweet, really nice person. She was from One Tree Hill.
Okay.
I believe it was One Tree Hill.
I got stumped on that one.
Yeah, it's the ones that are like, it's the really sweet people and the people that are from shows that I watched growing up that I was like, this is what I like. Like, this is what I'm really into.
Well, this is really, really super cool. I'm glad you came over and we've got to hang out and have this chit chat so everybody can see what it's like to be the quiet people behind the scenes that make some movies and TV programs, print ads, videos look fantastic. And you don't even know where they are or what they do. They just go walking down the street and that's it. Tell everybody what projects you got out that they can actually take a look at if they're out there now, or where they can find your work if you're on the internet and social media.
Oh, okay. I'm a bit sporadic, but I did release two children's books that I have out there, both on Kindle. So one of them's called like Are You Sleeping Puppies, which I've had out for like a couple years now. And
Are You Sleeping Puppies?
yeah, it was actually about my sister's puppies that were like really young at the time, and it's a children's nighttime book.
Okay.
So I have that out. I have a commercial that's about to come out for a skin tanning brand. Don't remember what that was, but it had pretty big people in it.
Really?
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff that I have no idea what they are or why we're doing it.
You said two books.
I did. Oh, my other one is called Wake Up Mom. It's a weird one. I wrote it after I got out of college, and it's a concept book about what would happen if animals in a forest like could interact and say things like humans, but they had to act like animals. And so it doesn't end well, and people don't like that book. It's not actually intended for children. But I thought it was really interesting because I'm like, let's take these two, let's personify animals, but also have them act like animals.
Sounds like a web series. I'd like to be the voice.
Do it.
I could be a voice of the dog. Bow wow. I don't know. I don't know. I like working in the business and I like trying everything and I love everybody in this industry for the most part. And I love that they do what they do. So what's the social media links for everybody to take a look at you?
Oh, I'm on Nathanael T. Art. I'm also on at Nathanael Trahan. Those are both on Instagram.
So you got to spell your last name.
Trahan.
Mm-hmm.
And my name is AEL at the end, not IEL, like most Nathaniels are. So I know people get confused about that. So that's me. I'm pretty much everywhere.
All right.
I'm in a lot of places.
Well, we want to look for your work. We want to work with you. We want to stay in touch with you. Guys, we got to get going. I want to thank my producer, Tatiana Blue Shell, for bringing him on the show. This is really, really cool. It's something different. You guys get to listen to the real behind the scenes of what's going on in the movie business, the TV business, print ads and film and stuff like this. It's really, really great. So thank you, Tatiana Blue Shell, for always making sure we put on a great podcast. And I want to thank everybody for watching. Remember, you can watch me all the time exclusively on my YouTube channel, which is Mike Marino Live. And of course, we're on Spotify, so check us out over there. You can even keep on listening to us on Italian American radio in New York City. So I'm going to end this the way I always do. Let's make America Italian again. My motto, he didn't know I was going to say that. My motto is you don't know nothing, you don't see nothing, you don't say nothing. And how do I end every single one of my podcasts? By saying the same thing with my guest. You ready?
Oh, God.
Don't take no shit from nobody.
Okay, let's
ready?
do it.
Don't take no shit from nobody. Hey, folks, thanks for watching Live from My Mother's Basement. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, hit the word like and leave me a really cool comment. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the future episodes, and you can watch some of the funniest videos on the internet. You can also listen to the show on Spotify or your favorite podcast app.